We have been discussing over the last several segments the question of scientific peer review, concerns about scientific peer review, the explosion in this amount of science, the internal issues that relate to quality that, say, the scientific community has done to itself. In this segment, I just wanted to very briefly mention external factors that are more external factors that are relevant, but they are incredibly complex and very difficult, but need to be solved. When it became clear that, the scientific peer review process, publication was so important, it was natural that the next step would be, and this happened many years ago, is to try to quantify these efforts. And a number of companies came up with things that went under various names, but the common name is impact factor. So you look at, if something gets published, then how do you determine its impact? Well, other people that cite that paper or those papers will somehow indicate that that prior publication that they're citing must have been important. So the impact factor will go up. So there are quantifications now of the quality of science. One can discuss that. One can discuss its legitimacy. The fact is, that's what happens. We quantify things. The result has been, though, that now the goal is to game the system. And people have figured out how to do that. There is widespread evidence now of individuals who are paying for spots on publications, literally paying dollars so they can get onto publications. We have evidence, a recent report that showed that there are people who are paying to manipulate Google Scholar. There is widespread evidence of plagiarism. It's been reported throughout many journals. Journals are trying to attack this head on. It's very hard. But as the number of scientific papers increases, the pressure to publish, the pressure to have higher impact factors, to get jobs to be promoted around the world is ongoing, in fact, accelerating. We're seeing this. And finally, I have to add to all of this, the complexity of the research, the complexity of statistical analyses that are being done, the complexity of the number of databases that are being used and manipulated and trying to figure out and claims to be made, and who is able to do peer review of these incredibly complex statistical analyses that, of course, are done on the computer? The answer is very few. And why should someone do this? Do they get paid? Usually not. It's voluntary. Peer review system has been voluntary. The system is broken. And if all of this was not enough, we are now inundated with artificial intelligence. AI has only made things much worse, with papers coming along that are obviously and very well documented, simply written by these programs. And one can only imagine the difficulty of being able to detect this by peer review, through peer review, a voluntary, as I said before, process. Clearly, the situation has reached a very difficult, I would argue, a point of crisis. How are we as a society, as an oncology community, as a scientific community, going to be able to tackle this? I will discuss several possible options in the final segment here. But the last thing I want to say in this segment is we have to come up with a solution. Why? Because we need to have our society trust science and its research. Because if that is lost, one can only imagine the impact on the future of health and of public health. One more segment to come. Thank you.